Here are 30 facts about One Piece that you probably didn't know. Did you know that Crocodile is essentially just Captain Hook, and his name refers to the crocodile that Captain Hook is afraid of? In fact, the original 7 warlords are all named after animals. Some are in English, like Crocodile and Boa Hancock, with Boa being a boa constrictor, while others are in Japanese, like Kuma, which means bear. Some of the other warlords are not as easily recognizable. In fact, even Law's got a tiger theme going on. After all, the first part of his name, Trafalgar, in Japanese sounds a lot like tiger. Oda stated in the past that he wanted to make Hawkins a warlord, and he would have fit in perfectly. Did you know that Ace's name has a hidden meaning and that it foreshadowed his eventual death? Ace being the captain of the Spade Pirates is actually a pun on the Ace of Spades, which is also named the Death card. It's crazy to think that his eventual death was right in front of us this entire time. Who are the youngest Devilfruit users in One Piece? Well, we know that Robin got her Devilfruit powers when she was just 8 years old. We also know that both Luffy and Otama got their powers when they were just 7, but those two are not even the youngest Devilfruit users that we know of right now. The youngest Devilfruit user that we know of right now in this series is actually Big Mom, who got her Devilfruit powers when she was just 6 years old, and we know how that turned out. Did you know that Dadan, the lady who essentially raised both Luffy and Ace, was originally going to be a man? This was revealed in One Piece Green, and the early concept art of Dadan showed that she was originally going to be a man with a more traditional hat and pipe. Dadan's concept art makes me think that Oda had planned for Dadan to be more of a mentor or sensei to Luffy. Personally, I think that would have been extremely interesting, but I love Dadan, so I'm totally fine with the current version. I guess we ultimately got a mentor or sensei figure out of Rayleigh, so this change is honestly really great if you think about it, because you can't really add a motherly figure in the middle of a story, especially a story revolving around pirates. Did you know that Don Krieg was originally going to be a cyborg? In One Piece Green, Secret Pieces, we get to see an early concept draft for Krieg. This concept art shows that Oda had originally planned for him to be a cyborg named Krieg 9000. Unfortunately, I feel like Don Krieg's a pretty forgettable character, but if he was a cyborg, he'd be much more memorable. And with that being said, I think I would have enjoyed his concept design more than his current design. Did you know that Frankie has an unlimited number of hairstyles? After pressing his metal nose for more than 3 seconds, Frankie's hair will pop out. The hair is controllable and can change to whatever he wants it to be. According to the series creator himself, the amount of hairstyles that Frankie has is infinite. This was first demonstrated during the Straw Hats reunion on Sabaody, and it was later named the Frankie Hair Salon during the Dressrosa arc. Did you know that Luffy and his fake counterpart, Demario Black, actually share a birthday? Their birthday is May 5th, which is known as Children's Day in Japan. While Luffy's quite childish and I get the reasoning behind this day, it's a little disturbing that fake Luffy actually has the same birthday. I mean, why make a fake version of a character and give them a different birthday? But the man more or less acts and looks like he shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a school, so the fact that his birthday is Children's Day is a little disturbing to me. Did you know that in the One Piece manga, Luffy almost never has a thought bubble? The series creator said that he does this on purpose because Luffy is constantly talking or doing something before he actually thinks about what he should do or say. This can be seen countless times throughout the series and is something that I think most fans enjoy. I think that it would get a little tiring to have a protagonist that is incredibly serious and thought out, especially considering that we have over 1,000 chapters and episodes. I think that Luffy and the rest of the crew are giving us the comedic relief that we desperately need to get through this epic story. Do you know that Sugar and Monet are sisters? I definitely recognize that they look similar, but I didn't think they'd actually be sisters. I just assumed that Oda was kind of lazy and had them share the same face shape. It's also interesting to see how they joined the Don Quixote family. Oda took the time to explain to us that Sugar and Monet used to live in a terrible environment. Well, that was before Doflamingo stepped in. When Sugar was just 9 years old and Monet was 17, Doflamingo stepped in to save them. They decided to give up their former lives and serve the Don Quixote family. Although we're not sure when Sugar and Monet joined the crew, it must have been after Law had left the crew because we didn't see them in any of his flashbacks. Did you know that all 3 members of the monkey family have a major mark or scar on the left side of their face? Both Luffy and Garp have a scar, while Dragon has a large tattoo. It's interesting and fun to see that all these characters are connected in this way. Even if they haven't really been involved in their lives, at least they've got this connection. Did you know that when One Piece creator Ichiro Oda was asked about which Devilfruit power he'd choose for himself, he said that he would want Robin's Devilfruit so that he could draw quicker? This actually makes a whole lot of sense when you consider the fact that he's been working on One Piece for 20 plus years and has created over 1,000 chapters of the manga. I'm sure that Oda could use a couple more hands to draw Luffy and the rest of the Straw Hats as they try to find the One Piece. Did you know that One Piece holds a world record? That record is of course for selling the most copies of the same comic series by a single author. At this point, One Piece has sold over 500 million copies since it originally started in 1997. Now you might think that other popular series like Spider-Man, Batman, or Superman might be incredibly popular and potentially could have sold more than One Piece. But then you'd have to factor in that they've all had multiple different authors. One Piece will continue to sell more and more copies as the series goes on and should hold this record for a long time. One Piece creator Ichiro Oda's wife is just a real version of Nami. Did you know that during Jump Fest 2002, One Piece creator Ichiro Oda met his future wife while she was cosplaying as Nami? The two hit it off and then dated for a couple years before getting married in 2004. Oda's even gone on to say that whenever he needs inspiration for Nami's outfits, he just looks over at his wife to see what she's wearing and then uses that for inspiration. Did you know that One Piece creator Ichiro Oda identifies with Shanks more than any other character in One Piece? According to Oda himself, Shanks is the one character that he believes that he is most similar to. Oda has said in the past that he identifies with Shanks due to his cool and calm personality. Oda might feel this way because of how well crafted a character Shanks is. Despite us not knowing much about Shanks, we connect and adore Shanks, as his primary role is to be a father or hero figure to Luffy. Or at least that's all we've seen so far. I mean, who really knows? I'm sure there's more to come in the future, and we'll see what kind of role Shanks plays in the final chapters. Did you know that Robin is the only member of the Straw Hats to never actually be invited to join the crew? She actually decided to join on her own. Robin has only gone on to be helpful to the crew since joining and is considered part of their family, but it's nice to see that she considered them family before they even invited her. Did you know that Sabo's favorite food is ramen? Well, I'm guessing that most of you don't or just don't care, but it's actually really interesting. The voice actress for young Sabo is actually really well known for voicing Naruto, whose favorite food is of course ramen, and considering that both Naruto and One Piece creators are known to be friends, I doubt that this is much of a coincidence. Did you know that Sabo's character design is based off the character Artful Dodger from Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist? Both are a part of a gang of children who are constantly getting in trouble, and it's worth noting that their clothing is extremely similar. Both are wearing a top hat, have similar jackets, and have a cravat tied around their neck. It's always interesting to see where Oda drew inspiration for his characters. Now we all know that Nami is one of the smartest Straw Hats, but did you know that she's actually the third smartest person from the East Blue? Well, this is confirmed by Oda, and the only people smarter than her are Captain Kuro, who's in second place, and the title of the smartest person in the East Blue actually goes to Ben Beckman of the Red-Haired Pirates. Did you know that Sanji is the only Straw Hat shown in the series that have biological siblings? Nami has an adopted sister, while Ace and Sabo are only Luffy's sworn brothers. I would definitely say that Luffy and Nami have better relationships with their siblings than Sanji, but it's interesting to see that over 1,000 episodes, Sanji is the only Straw Hat to have biological siblings. Oda's made it pretty clear throughout the series that friendship's more important than blood, but it'll be pretty interesting to see if any of the other Straw Hats have a secret family member that we haven't heard about. Did you know that during a Q&A interview with the creator of One Piece, a fan asked Ichiro Oda if Sanji was based on Leonardo DiCaprio? Oda responded by saying that the fan wasn't too far off, and that Sanji's character design was actually based on Steve Buscemi. Oda went on to say that Sanji wasn't meant to be a one-to-one clone of Steve Buscemi, and that he was more or less trying to capture his attitude and mannerisms, especially for his role in Reservoir Dogs. Although Oda made it clear that he wasn't trying to capture Steve Buscemi's physical side, I can definitely see the resemblance here. Do you know that Oda planned to keep Shanks a secret? In the second version of Romance Dawn, Shanks wasn't present at all. Instead of getting his Devilfruit and Straw Hat from Shanks, he got them from his grandfather, Garp. But this isn't because Oda wasn't planning to include Shanks at all. It's because he had big plans for him in the future and wanted to avoid revealing him early on in the series. Now, I love Shanks, but this could have been a great way to tell the story. Garp giving Luffy the Devilfruit and Straw Hat could have been really interesting, and Shanks being revealed later on the stories could have been much more impactful. I mean, to be fair, we hardly ever see Shanks in the 1,000+ episodes of the series, so I could see how this could be a good idea. But if this was the case, we'd miss out on all the hype and anticipation we as fans have for the next time that Shanks makes an appearance in the series. Did you know that Shanks and Mihawk share more than just a rivalry? Thanks to Whitebeard, we know that their rivalry has been full of ferocious fights, but Oda has filled us in on something else that brings these two legendary swordsmen together. You see, the two characters actually share the same birthday, as both of them were born on March 9th. Interestingly enough, this date was actually chosen by a fan. You see, Oda has a lot of characters to keep track of, so it's understandable that not all of them get canon birthdays right away. And because of this, sometimes fans will write in with suggestions for possible birth dates, or even names for future characters. Did you know that Shanks was the only original Yanko from one of the 4 Blues? In fact, the other 3 Yanko are all from the Grand Line. Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Kaido are all originally from different parts of the Grand Line. It's interesting to see that Luffy's hero is the only member of the 4 Emperors from one of the Blues. The West Blue, to be more specific. Although it makes sense that Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Kaido are all from the Grand Line, I do think it's a missed opportunity to have a Yanko from each of the Blues. Did you know that the side effects of eating a defective smile fruit are shockingly similar to that of Joker Venom from Batman? Defective smile fruits cause the eater to become unable to express any emotion other than constant joy. In case you don't know, Joker Venom is a deadly chemical weapon that causes the victim to start laughing uncontrollably, while their facial muscles start to contort into a grin similar to that of Joker's. Fittingly, smile is a chemical weapon developed by Doflamingo and Caesar Clown. And we know that Doflamingo's underworld codename is Joker, and Caesar Clown obviously shares that clown theme that Joker's got going on. Did you know that Sanji, Luffy, and Usopp all claim to have never been sick? Let's start this by taking a deeper look at Usopp. Usopp's a known pathological liar, and despite getting better as the series goes on, I could totally see him lying about this just to act more manly. Next, let's look at Luffy. Now, Luffy is almost superhuman in terms of strength and durability, and definitely has the will of D, so who really knows with him? But he's incredibly stubborn and dumb at times. Now for Sanji, I could totally see him never being sick. I mean, the man's just built different. I'm sure his determination alone would push him through being sick and nothing would change in his daily routine. Did you know that Tashigi has a specific reason for collecting swords from her enemies? Now if you don't remember, you might just think that she really likes swords and wants to collect them. Well, although that's kind of true, it's worth noting that throughout Japanese history, the act of taking a sword from another is a strong statement. You see, this implies that the wielder is not worthy of their blades, and by doing this, Tashigi's actually saving the blades from the criminals. Did you know that the Red Hair Pirates' anchor theme actually comes from Shanks? You see, several members of the Red Hair Pirates actually have a tattoo or an image of an anchor somewhere on their body or clothes. This is most obvious during the flashback to Luffy's childhood, which includes a giant anchor on his t-shirt. The name for a stem of an anchor is actually a shank, which would actually make a lot of sense considering that Shanks is their captain. Did you know that Usopp's name and character design have a secret meaning? The Uso in Usopp means to lie in Japanese, and his comically long nose is a reference to Pinocchio. Even more interesting is the fun fact that Oda made his birthday April 1st, which is known as April Fool's Day. Why does Kobe look so different now in One Piece? According to the author of One Piece, Kobe actually went through a growth spurt and tightened his muscles due to Garp's training. I do find this kind of crazy considering how little time it took for Kobe to go from this to this. Hopefully this will serve as a motivation to everyone watching this to start hitting the gym. Did you know that the worst generation almost didn't exist? In an interview with One Piece Log, One Piece creator Ichiro Oda explained that he created the Supernovas right before the chapter that they were introduced, and that none of them existed in his notebooks before that chapter. You see, he just thought that Sabaody wasn't going to be interesting enough and needed something to spice up the story. Then out of nowhere, he had inspiration for 9 new characters. It's crazy to think how big of a role that these characters have played in the series, especially when you consider that Law and Kid are some of the most popular and important characters in the series.